Moses, I have to ask you about the rally we've been seeing over the last few days. What, in your view, is the key driver of this?
Well, I think prior to now, market has been struggling. So what we've seen in the market is just a marginal movement. Market have been somewhat flat until Tuesday when CBN, MPC, Monetary Policy Committee of the CBN, cut the benchmark interest rate, surprisingly to a lot of people anyway, and then by 100 basis points. So that actually sent a signal that yields in the fixed income space will be low for a medium to long term. If you look at it from what CBN is doing, so that sends signal to investors that hey, for you to get a better return on your investment or to get a positive return, the other market that you can look at is the equities market. And I think that's one of the reasons that will have driven investors' interest in the equities market. And that's what we saw. If you notice the rally we saw this week, we were much more on Wednesday, Thursday, and even today, we saw better performance on the exchange.
All right, let's go specific now. Nigerian breweries has been doing extremely well over the last two sessions. More of the same today. It gained, I think, about 9%. What is driving that rally in your view?
Well, prior to now, since the beginning of COVID-19, a lot of people, analysts have been saying that the effect of this COVID-19 will be much more negative for consumer goods players, particularly the brewery players, when there are no social distance, there are social distancing measures, meaning no parties, no clubbing, and all those things. So investors have already factored that in. And with the ease of lockdown, government saying people can now go back to parties like before. Parties are not coming back like it used to be, although it doesn't get to that level, but it hasn't got to that level, but it will still get to that level. So all these things, investors are looking at maybe breweries now. Of course, prior to that, the stocks have been well dealt with, both other, even international breweries and Guinness. But now with this ease of lockdown and the possibility for us to see social activities coming back again, I think investors are now betting that maybe these guys will do better, and they are also taking position because of that. So I think that may be another reason why investors will be looking at breweries for now. But generally, I have to see that the sector is still facing a lot of challenges. Even prior to COVID-19, there are still constitutional issues there. There are still tariffs or excise duties that the players they have to face. So I think these are the still issues around them. But with this ease of lockdown and the fact that we should expect more social gatherings coming up again, I think it should be good for breweries players.
All right. More specifically now, flour mills, they've put out a notice on the stock exchange suggesting that the flood that hit their Asante sugar estate at this point cannot be said to be significant in terms of some of their earnings projections. Your perspective on flour mills and how significant you think potentially this could be for the company?
Well, with what the company said to the exchange today, they have not really defined the level of the effect of this. But hopefully, we think this should actually not be so much or should not have a significant negative effect on the company, because if it does, then it's going to be a major setback, not only for the company, but also for the country as a whole, as we try to be self-sufficient in production of sugar. So if you look at the amount of sugar that we import annually and the value of that, I think it's going to be a major setback, not only for flour mills, but also for the whole country in terms of our sugar self-sufficiency plan. But hopefully they will give us a better or good information or good news around that. But they have not really defined the level of the impact of this flood on their production.
Right. I know you mentioned earlier that the rally we've seen recently is perhaps overdue because of the pullback we've seen. But how strong do you think the momentum is? Moving into next week, do you anticipate that we'll see further gains?
Well, yeah, it's possible to see some of these gains continue. If you look at what some of these companies on the exchange have done in first half of the year, even particularly in Q2, when the lockdown was still there, and we thought a lot of these companies will even struggle. And many of them really surprised the market with the results released. So if you put that in and you look at the fact that now government is trying to ease the lockdown, economic activity is coming back again, I think we should expect a better result from some of these countries on the exchange. And on the back of that, with low interest environment in fixed income space, I think investors will still be looking at the equities market going forward. So we still may see some of these buy interest in market going forward. But of course, at a point, you see investors taking profit from the market, because considering the fact that the macroeconomic condition is still quite weak. If you look at the challenges with FX, it's still very much there. And the overall macroeconomic condition is still weak. And that's one of the reasons why CBN even cut the benchmark interest rate by 100 basis points, because they feel that the economy is still fragile and it may see, and they are trying to avoid a very deep decline in GDP going forward. So they really want to take economy out of recession that we expect going forward. So I think on the back of the weak macroeconomic condition, the rally may not be sustained going forward, but we may still see some of this buy interest continue next week.